So back in April this year, I ran the London Marathon in 2 hours, 24 minutes and 31 seconds. I'm 42 years old and I've been running for 3.5 years. After the race, I realised that I made 3 mistakes in my race and in my training that could have led to a faster time. Since London, I realised my next goal should be 2:20. These mistakes that I've made can be applicable to anyone, and I think anyone can use these mistakes to learn from, like I am, and run faster times, whatever your goal is. The last one is definitely an unusual one in that not many people who ran 2:24 or faster at London made this kind of mistake. So it's definitely one to learn from, especially for me, because I won't be doing it again. But anyway, let's just jump straight into it. So what are the 3 mistakes that I made? Number 1 is strength training. Now, I didn't do anything. And I really felt at the end of the race that my legs just could have benefited from being stronger. I felt close to getting a cramp. I didn't get cramps, I felt close to getting a cramp. I've never felt like that in a race. I think it's because I was pushing my body further than I'd ever done in a race. I was running faster than I'd ever run. But I think if I'd done some strength training, my legs would have been a lot stronger. My upper body would have been a lot stronger. My core would have been a lot stronger. And I would have been able to power through a bit more. I felt really good. I mean, this is normal. I felt really good till about 30k, which everyone does it. Everyone finds from 30k onwards, it's tough. But I just felt like my strength could have improved. I've just run. I've gone out and run. As I said in previous videos, that's what I do. I just make sure I'm consistent at running. But from now on, I'm going to add some strength training to get my legs stronger. And I think that'll also protect me against injuries as well. Second mistake I made, and this is a big one, and it's arguable whether it's a mistake because I kind of intentionally planned to do this, but I did very, very little speed work or interval training. I think maybe 4 times I went to the track before the marathon in the 4-month build-up. That's all the actual traditional speed work that I did. So all I did was go out and run steady and easy and long runs and didn't do any of that. There were no sessions. There were no twice weekly sessions like most runners do. I just didn't do that. And yes, it helped me stay injury free, I think. And yes, it helped me stay consistent, but it's obvious, isn't it? There's a benefit to running fast and improving your fitness in that way and doing these traditional sessions like most fast runners do. So, 10 times a kilometer or 20 times 400 meters or whatever, just to improve your body's tolerance to the buildup of lactate and to improve your fitness at running a fast pace. And also, I do believe that running fast gets your body used to running fast in a race. And I did put in bursts of speed when I was doing my steady runs, and I made sure I knew what fast speeds felt like, and I ran up hills as well, but I didn't do much traditional interval work. When I go and do it occasionally, I find, wow, that's a really good workout. Why don't I do them? Why didn't I do them? Yet number 1 is I was worried about getting injured and I wanted to run consistently. Number 2, I really like to keep things simple in my running, and I like to just put my running gear on, get out the door, go running, not think about it too much. I always find with interval training, okay, I've got to find somewhere that I can run fast and time myself like a track. I've got a track that's a 25-minute drive away from me. And honestly, I'm lazy and I can't be bothered to go and drive to the track sometimes. And especially in the winter, when I was training in the winter, it was cold out there, and I thought, listen, just getting out and running is a good thing to do. Like, I'm not going to get into the car and drive to the track. And yeah, that's pretty bad, isn't it? And you're probably pretty amazed that I managed to run a 2:24 not doing that, but that's just me. So I have to add speed training into my overall training. It has to be done to get faster. The last mistake I made, which is definitely crazy and it's definitely unusual from talking to pretty much all the runners that were running the marathon around me, and that I saw running, especially runners that were running faster times than I was, is my fueling strategy for the marathon was completely non-existent. I took gels with me, but I didn't use them at all. I took one gel and held it in my hand just almost like this is what I should be doing. I didn't eat it. I didn't take on any water in the race at all, and I didn't eat anything from 6 p.m. onwards the day before the race. Now thinking, what are you talking about? Why didn't you do any of those things I've just mentioned? Because for me, I've always trained on an empty stomach, and I've never trained my body to get used to eating before running or eating whilst running. A couple of times before London, I bought some gels and used them in my training, and it was okay, but I felt sick when I was running, and I was worried that it would impair my performance if I was to use the gels in the race. And at London, as the race went on, and I knew I was feeling good, I knew I was doing well, the gel I had in my hand, I thought, I'm not going to risk taking it and feeling worse. So I just didn't use it. And also the whole thing of not eating from 6 p.m. the day before is also just, I really like feeling light and having a empty stomach. I know that sounds crazy for a marathon when you really should be full of carbs, but I did before 6 p.m. on the day before the marathon, I did eat a lot of carbs. So I was eating lots of white bread, pasta, rice, anything that didn't have fiber in. So I didn't want that to affect my stomach. And so I did eat a lot of carbs the day before, but I just stopped at 6 p.m. I made sure I was really well hydrated and I had a lot of water the day before. But again, I didn't have any energy drinks or anything like that. I just stayed very, very simple. And in the race, I didn't feel the need to have any water. I didn't feel thirsty. Yeah, it wasn't a hot day, so that probably helped quite a bit. And it was raining a bit. But again, in the marathon I did previous in London, the Yorkshire Marathon, my first marathon, I remember seeing other runners taking water. I thought, oh, I'll get a drink of water. Had a sip. It didn't sit well in my stomach, again, because I'm not used to doing that in my training. My stomach's not used to taking on water or food when I'm training. So I avoided that in London completely. So what I'm going to do now is train myself to be able to eat before races and train myself to be able to take on food or take on gels in a race as well as take on water, because if I do a hot race, I'll need water. So taking on gels just means I'm going to have to take on gels when I go out for a long training run and do it as much as possible, and not in the half-hearted way I tried to do it before London, which was like, oh, taking on gel didn't help me. I didn't feel great. I'm pretty sure that back in the 60s, 70s, maybe even 80s, runners didn't use gels when they were running. They just went out and they ran. I think they just drank water in the races and probably carb loaded before. But these guys ran really fast times. If you look back in the 80s and 70s, these guys were running really fast times without gels. So there is an argument to say potentially you don't need to take on fuel. But I do think that in the last 10 kilometers, after 20 miles, when you start hitting that wall, I think having more carbs in your system after you've burned all the carbs you've got, you've burned all that energy, and you need something else. I think having gels, I've been having increased my carbohydrate intake during the race and getting to that point where I'm not so depleted on carbs can only help me. When I was running London, I thought, the gels can only hinder me because it's going to affect my stomach. But I think having gels can only help. Thanks so much for watching the video. Again, usual thing, like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, if you got anything out of it, and please follow along my future videos and look back at my old videos. Thanks so much, and speak soon.